Hello, friends, and welcome to The Architecture Enthusiast. André Le Nôtre's genius lay not merely in planting trees and arranging flowers, but in orchestrating vast landscapes into sublime expressions of order, power, and human control over nature. His work transcended horticulture to become a grand, theatrical art, where every vista, every water feature, and every precisely clipped hedge contributed to an overwhelming sense of harmonious majesty. He wasn't just designing spaces. He was crafting experiences that spoke of absolute dominion and the rational mind's ability to impose its will on the untamed world. If one were to ask André Le Nôtre, what is a garden? His answer would be deeply rooted in the philosophical and political spirit of his time, the French Baroque. He would emphatically declare that a garden is a triumph of order over chaos, a majestic demonstration of human reason and control applied to the vastness of nature. For Le Nôtre, a garden was not a wild, unkempt space, but a meticulously planned and executed composition, a living architectural masterpiece. He would emphasize that its purpose was to impress, to entertain, and to elevate the spirit through its sheer grandeur and perfect symmetry. He saw the garden as an extension of the palace, a stage for courtly life, and a symbol of the monarch's omnipotence. In essence, for Le Nôtre, a garden was a carefully calibrated machine for pleasure and power, where every element served to extend the lines of sight, reflect the heavens, and manifest a controlled, idealized vision of the world. He would argue that a garden should be a source of constant wonder, revealing new perspectives and harmonious compositions at every turn. Le Nôtre's designs are fundamentally characterized by their axial planning and long, sweeping perspectives. He mastered the art of enfilade, extending lines of sight to infinity or to strategically placed focal points, often a grand fountain, a statue, or even a distant horizon. These vast avenues and canals were not just pathways, they were visual conduits, drawing the eye and emphasizing the immense scale of the landscape. This rigorous geometry and imposition of straight lines on undulating terrain showcased humanity's ability to shape nature to its will, rather than merely submitting to it. Water played a pivotal role in his compositions. He transformed static pools into dynamic elements, creating elaborate fountains, cascades, and mirror-like canals that reflected the sky and the surrounding architecture. These water features were not simply decorative, they were integral to the overall design, providing visual interest, sound, and a sense of movement that enlivened the static geometry. The engineering feats required to supply and manage water for these ambitious schemes were as impressive as the aesthetic outcomes, further underscoring the triumph of human ingenuity. His use of planting was highly architectural. Hedges were clipped into precise geometric forms, parterres, bosquets, and green walls, creating outdoor rooms and intricate patterns. Trees were often planted in rigid rows or dense groves, forming green tunnels or framing vistas, rather than being allowed to grow freely. This disciplined approach to horticulture reinforced the overarching theme of order and control, turning living plants into pliable elements within a grand static composition. Color was secondary to form and texture, often achieved through vast expanses of lawn or geometric patterns of bedding plants. The experience of moving through a Le Nôtre garden was a carefully choreographed journey. Visitors were guided along defined paths, their views meticulously framed and revealed in a sequence of grand reveals and unexpected diversions. The entire landscape functioned as a complex stage, designed to elicit admiration and reinforce a specific worldview. This comprehensive approach, integrating architecture, engineering, and horticulture into a unified artistic statement, was revolutionary. Le Nôtre's enduring influence on today's landscape architects. Le Nôtre's influence on today's landscape architecture, while often reinterpreted and adapted, is undeniably profound and enduring. His foundational principles continue to inform contemporary design, even in contexts far removed from the grandeur of the French Baroque. His mastery of axial planning and strong sightlines remains a powerful tool in modern landscape design. Whether in urban parks, corporate campuses, or large-scale master plans, the strategic use of axes to organize space, create visual connections, and direct movement is a direct descendant of Le Nôtre's methodology. The concept of creating a journey through a landscape with carefully composed vistas and sequential reveals is a core principle in many contemporary designs, albeit often on a more human scale or with less overt symbolism. Furthermore, his sophisticated understanding of water as an integral design element continues to inspire. Modern landscape architects utilize water features not just for aesthetic appeal, but for their sensory qualities: sound, reflection, ecological functions, stormwater management, habitat creation, and as dynamic elements within a larger composition. While today's water features might be more naturalistic or environmentally integrated, the recognition of water's power to define and animate a space owes much to Le Nôtre's pioneering work. Le Nôtre's architectural approach to planting, using vegetation to define space and form, has also left a lasting legacy. Contemporary landscape architects still employ mass plantings, hedging, and tree alignments to create outdoor rooms, define edges, and frame views. While the strict formality might be softened, the underlying principle of using plants as structural elements within a designed landscape remains a key part of the toolkit, allowing for the creation of diverse spatial experiences. The idea of sculpting the land and vegetation to create specific forms and spaces is a clear inheritance. His emphasis on integrating engineering and art is perhaps his most relevant contribution to modern practice. Le Nôtre demonstrated that ambitious landscape designs required sophisticated engineering solutions for grading, drainage, and water management. This interdisciplinary approach, where technical expertise is seamlessly woven into artistic vision, is fundamental to large-scale landscape architecture today, particularly in complex urban or ecologically sensitive projects. He showed that the grandest visions necessitate rigorous technical foundations. Finally, Le Nôtre's understanding of the experiential journey through a landscape continues to shape design. Modern landscape architects meticulously choreograph circulation, views, and sensory experiences to guide users through a space, creating narratives and fostering specific emotional responses. Whether it's the sequence of discovery in a public park or the contemplative path through a garden, the idea that a landscape can be a curated journey of perception traces back to Le Nôtre's masterful compositions. In essence, André Le Nôtre established a monumental language for landscape design, one rooted in rationality, absolute control, and a profound sense of human ambition. He demonstrated the power of the designed landscape to reflect power, order, and philosophical ideals. While today's landscape architects often embrace ecological principles, sustainability, and less formal aesthetics, the fundamental tools of axial planning, grand gesture, water manipulation, and the architectural use of plants, all aimed at creating compelling, ordered, and immersive experiences, are direct echoes of the indelible mark left by Le Nôtre on the face of the earth. He transformed gardening into an art of grand, controlled composition that continues to inform how we shape our outdoor environments.